How does USC throw? How does USC throw an Earth Week party? They plan it. I'm Marilyn Parra, coming up with more earthy details.
USC students took over the village to showcase their skills. See what these entrepreneurs are sharing with the community.
And more than 100 homeless students will soon be granted a safe place to live thanks to a new program.
Annenberg TV News is next.
USC students are taking the initiative to pave the way for sustainability and climate activism. Good evening, I'm Sydney Charles.
And I'm Cassie Esparza. Reporter Marilyn Parra is live outside Bovard Auditorium, where events are taking place.
Earth Day 2022 is coming up fast this Friday, April 22nd, where people will share love and celebrate our beautiful planet. USC's Environmental Student Assembly has events planned all week on campus, including the one happening right now, right behind me in front of Bovard Auditorium, where Ron Finley is the guest speaker. If you don't know who he is, he goes by the Gangster Gardener. The event is set to open with a showcase and resource fair.
There are so many events for Earth Week this year, which I think is super exciting. The one that we are doing tonight is an Earth Week celebration with the Arts and Climate Collective and Ron Finley.
There's so many great organizations doing this work across campus. It's really important that we work together to co-create the future that we want to see.
Showing different ways that individual students can promote sustainability within their own lives.
Trojans on campus are encouraged to take part in sustainability activities and events, as well as take time to learn more about how they can take action. We have some Earth Day facts. The very first Earth Day was held in 1970 after environmental laws were passed, including the Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Acts. This year's Earth Day theme is Invest in Your Planet, and today over 1 billion people in over 192 countries will participate in this year's Earth Day. Now, USC's Environmental Student Assembly wants everyone to know it's important to show love for the Earth every day and take action, not just this week. Reporting live in front of Bovard Auditorium, I'm Marilyn Parra. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Marilyn. Social media can be a great outlet to promote small businesses. But what about getting the in-person shopping experience? Reporter Eileen Rebollo shows us a brand new spot for student entrepreneurs.
SC Sparks hosted the first Trojan Marketplace today at the USC Village, an event dedicated to showcasing Trojan entrepreneurship. One vendor has been honing his craft for over 3 years and was delighted to share his talent with the student community.
I used to bake with my sister. That's the reason why I started baking during the pandemic again as well, is because I missed her a lot when she moved out. I spent 3.5 years refining my recipes. The triple berry red wine is a recipe I've been working on for like 3 years now.
Danisa Marroquin is the owner of Sunflower Sweets. She shared how meaningful it is to have a platform to sell her treats.
This event is really significant for me because it is my first pop-up. I sell out of my home, so just being around so many like-minded entrepreneurs is really cool.
The Trojan Marketplace is USC's first ever event to highlight over 45 different student businesses. Behind me are a few of the stands on display, selling everything from food, art, fashion, accessories, and more.
So there's a bunch of food shops, there's a bunch of clothing, accessories, services, so I was really excited that it was just kind of like a community event. So this shirt, I bought this one. I think it's going to be great for game day.
I mean, I just love that this event is supporting small businesses, and it's just a bunch of USC students, so it's really awesome that we're all working together. Yeah.
The Los Angeles Community College District is piloting a $1.5 million housing program for 100 of its unhoused students. The LACCD is the nation's largest community college district. LACCD says nearly 53% of its student body lives at or below the poverty line. The program is partnering with local nonprofits to provide academic tutoring and financial counseling to affected students.
If we want to have a Los Angeles region that works for everyone, that means that those who are housing insecure need some place where they can build themselves and remain in this region. This is a good early and intermediate step.
Nearly 19% of California community college students have experienced homelessness in the past year, and nearly 60% have experienced some kind of housing insecurity. Among those, Black, Indigenous, and LGBTQ+ students are at a higher risk of being housing insecure. The new student housing agreement will run for a year. The initiative is part of a new state law that aims to improve college affordability and access to education.
Homelessness and affordable housing are key issues in the LA mayor's race. Reporter Ken McCoy has more on what some of the candidates are saying about these issues.
More than 40,000 people in the Los Angeles city area are unhoused. Rising rents and the lingering effects of the pandemic are partly to blame. Today, the Southern California Association of Nonprofit Housing held a forum for candidates running for mayor.
The purpose of today's event is to ask the candidates what are their concrete plans to address homelessness and housing affordability in the city. So we look forward to hearing their ideas and their concrete plans to help the situation.
I'm here in downtown LA where a majority of the homeless population reside. The resounding echo of today was that this is no longer a problem, but a state of emergency. One of the leading candidates is Congresswoman Karen Bass.
We absolutely have to have rent subsidies. We need to be able to support people to prevent folks from becoming homeless, to prevent folks from becoming unhoused. And I think that that has been one of the issues and one of the frustrations of people in the city when they see the unhoused population either continue to grow or not be resolved, or it leads them to feel that nothing is being done.
Businessman and entrepreneur Ramit Varma and grassroots activist Gina Viola also shared their views.
It isn't always just, I think it's turned into a term for low-income affordable housing. But housing is not affordable for anybody in the city anymore. And this is something that's just become, it's almost like a societal issue that we have.
Because homelessness is a poverty crisis. It's a budgeting crisis. We have divested from communities for years and in return over-policed them.
Candidate and LA City Attorney Mike Feuer shared an excerpt from a Times piece he wrote that illustrates the problem.
That if we had an earthquake, there would be a FEMA field general here on the scene in charge of recovery. I wrote we have the equivalent of that disaster, it's homelessness, and no one's in charge.
The mayoral primary is June 7th. For Annenberg Media, I'm Ken McCoy.
The Justice Department is appealing a Florida court ruling that said the federal mask travel mandate was unlawful. The CDC insists that masking on public transportation remains necessary for the health of everyone. Masks are coming off across the country, but the risks associated with COVID-19 remain the same. The CDC estimates that 1 in 3 people who test positive for the virus are at risk of developing long COVID, and a USC hospital is ready to help those who do. Keck Medicine of USC has launched a recovery clinic dedicated to helping patients recover from long COVID. The program brings different specialists and therapists together to address each patient's specific symptoms. One of them is Annenberg alum Morgan Stevens. She moved across the country to get treated for severe brain fog, headaches, and fatigue, which she says left her unable to work.
Going to USC, especially a post-COVID clinic that's aware of, these kind of post-viral symptoms that are happening after the virus, it was extremely validating, even emotional, because of all the, frankly, trauma that I went through before that.
A doctor who works at the hospital says they're still unsure what causes long COVID symptoms.
Long COVID is something that exists, but we are on the forefront of trying to understand it and develop therapies for it. One of the key components is that there seems to be a hyperimmune response to the COVID infections. So things that we can mitigate or alleviate the likelihood to get these symptoms are obviously vaccination.
Those eligible for treatment at Keck Hospital must have a positive PCR test and persistent symptoms at least 8 weeks after diagnosis.
Many people living in LA deal with different environmental stressors. One mom fears her daughter might be dealing with the consequences of living in an industrial city. Merlina Portillo packed up and moved 100 miles away from her home in Carson, where she found out she was pregnant.
I decided to move mainly for my daughter. I just needed to get out of Carson. I wanted to grow as an individual. I wanted to provide a better life for my child.
And the reason? The environment.
We have the marine lay here, we have the oil factories, we have just so much stuff to where, even a child playing outside, it's easy for them to get fatigued. It's easy for them to feel like sick, and I didn't want that for her.
One nurse says she's seen how the number of factories in Carson affects children.
We have the most particulate in the air because of the refineries, and that's the thing that gets in and causes irritation to the bronchi and stuff like that. So I do see lots of kids with asthma.
According to the World Health Organization, if a young child is exposed to outdoor air pollution, they are at an increased risk for pneumonia, stunted brain development, or chronic respiratory diseases like asthma. In the long term, air pollution can increase a child's risk of cancer or stroke. Household air pollution alone kills over 500,000 children under 5 every year. Carson, California has over 600 oil and gas wells. According to Smart Air LA, Carson has some of the highest rates of pollution in all of Los Angeles County. Although Merlina tried to protect her child from this, things took a turn last August.
I noticed, like, she feels like a little bit more sick, a little bit more agitated.
She says these symptoms started when her daughter began visiting her father, who still lives in Carson. For now, Merlina is making sure to take steps like encouraging indoor exercise and healthy eating to prevent possible long-term illnesses. Childhood asthma can lead to missed school days and even trips to the ER. Pollution is often a cause for concern in LA, so parents living in polluted areas should look out for respiratory problems, including a consistent cough or a whistling sound when breathing.
Some people say watching TV can be a weapon of distraction. We'll hear from experts who say the opposite is true.
The world's leading streaming service is now plummeting. A Marshall professor weighs in.
And some positive news for janitorial workers here at USC. Details when we come right back.
Worried your friend's struggling but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could write them a text or knit them a sweater. If you can't be together, you could write them a letter. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You could ask on your couch while you binge watch. However you do it, you gotta ask a friend. And if they don't share, you can ask again. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking.
There are a lot of ways to reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
About 200 USC custodians are set to begin working under a new union contract. The agreement comes after months of bargaining with their employer, Annenberg, and protests involving custodians, students, and faculty. The new contract includes a 21.5% pay increase and increased benefits over the next 3 years. Time now for this week's Elevate. Reporter Ella joins us with two experts about why watching TV can actually be good for your mental health.
Now, if your parents were anything like mine, they probably used to tell you that watching too much TV was lazy or unproductive, or like my mom used to say, it turned your brain into mashed potatoes. But with the diverse content library that modern streaming services seem to offer, watching TV in 2022 might actually be good for your mental health. Joining me live this evening in Studio C is Dr. Felt and Jordan Rice. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So let's just get right into things. Dr. Felt, I know you worked extensively on a study with UCLA, through the Center for Scholars and Storytellers that really focused on the Netflix popular show, 13 Reasons Why, and how it affected adolescent mental health. Wondering what your key takeaways were with that research.
We did a nationwide study, representative sample of adolescents 13 to 17, and we found that the show was highly motivating. That viewers of the show talked about the topics, mental health topics like suicide, bullying, sexual assault, to a great extent. 88% of viewers talked about the show after watching, and 92% sought out information about mental health resources.
Wow, and that's a really incredible impact. Wondering if we're looking at shows that are popular right now, like Dope Sick, that kind of touched on the opioid crisis, Euphoria covering addiction. Based on your research, is there a quote-unquote right way to tell those stories? Is there a type of, discipline that needs to be approached to screenwriting?
Well, there's absolutely do's and don'ts when it comes to approaching sensitive medical issues. It's important to be accurate because a lot of people get their information from the media that they consume, and it's important to think about safety for audiences. So currently, the USC Norman Lear Center is evaluating a resource that was co-produced by the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative and the Viacom Coalition. It's called the Mental Health Media Guide. So go to www.mentalhealthmediaguide.com to get tips on the best ways to tell stories in order to keep audiences safe.
Fantastic. Jordan, want to include you into the conversation here.
Sure.
I know you're producing a few films, through 4085 Productions, but you co-founded. Wondering what role, if any, this kind of conversation, thinking about mental health, plays into your development, pre-production, packaging process.
For sure. Yeah, I think that portraying accurate mental health is definitely interesting. I think mental health is so much more subjective, and there are so many different versions of correct portrayal of mental health. So for me, I just make sure that it's rooted in truth, that the story I'm telling is rooted in a true experience rather than stereotypes. And then I make sure that there's some form of psychological evidence. We're connecting it, we're tying it back to some form of really objective science. But remembering that these are characters who are people. They're not just psych studies.
That's a fantastic note to end on. I think, if anything, it really sounds like a call to action for storytellers, producers, screenwriters, everyone in between, and maybe even the Netflix talent team, as the company just announced its surprising first quarter earnings.
They definitely did. Netflix shares dropped 35% today, leading to a $50 billion loss in value. This follows the report the company lost 200,000 subscribers last quarter, the first decrease in a decade. The streaming leader gained subscribers during the pandemic, but now more people are out of their homes, economic sanctions are in place in Eastern Europe, and more streamers are an option. A Marshall professor reacted to what's happening for Netflix.
Netflix is a pure play streamer, and it's tough to be a pure play streamer when other companies are willing to accept potentially less money for their streaming service because they use it in other ways to drive different parts of their broader business model.
Mayor also says the recent crackdowns on password sharing and Netflix's plan to release an ad-based subscription tier are not sustainable solutions for the company's loss. Look at that beautiful weather over there. Why don't we go to Lupe to tell us what it's looking like outside?
Thanks, Cassie. Happy Wednesday, my fellow Trojans. Now, it's been sunny, but it's also been a lot more breezier on this side. Your current conditions right now, if we look at them, is 64 degrees. And if we look into your 5-day forecast, we're looking to continue to have about into the mid 60s on Thursday and Friday. But once we hit the weekend, look at this. We're going to be hitting 73 degrees on Saturday and 82 on Sunday. Then next week, it's going to be a little more of a change. We're going to hit 87 degrees, which is perfect to hit the beach, as you just saw that lovely picture, and perfect before the final sneak up on us. So that's all with me with the weather. Let's toss it over to sports and see what they can tell us about the highly anticipated spring football game.
Trojans take on the Bruins in the regular season rubber match on the beach. USC water polo enters postseason play, and Lincoln Riley makes his Coliseum debut. All coming up in sports.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch!
Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Welcome to ATVN Sports. I'm Eli Kleinman, joined at the desk by Sam Reno and Daniel Halpern. USC has its spring game on Saturday. This marks the first time fans will be able to see Lincoln Riley lead the Trojans into the Coliseum. Riley on the format of the spring game.
Yeah, we're going to play offense-defense. We just don't quite have enough bodies to go into 2 full squads. It's close, but you just don't want to. You don't want to get in too many situations where you lose one guy and then it turns into a little bit of a mess. So, but we're going to play a full half of football.
It's rivalry week for USC beach volleyball.
So
the top-ranked Trojans play host to third-ranked UCLA in a standalone match on Friday afternoon. The Trojans put together another perfect weekend and finished things off with a 4-1 rout of UCLA to avenge their only loss of the season. Friday's contest will be the third of a possible 5 meetings between the two sides this season. Head coach Dane Blanton on the challenges of facing the Bruins so many times.
To think of, gosh, you're going to play these guys 2-3 more times. Do you want to give them the same look? You know, what adjustments do you want to make? Do you want to make all the adjustments that you know about? Challenging though, because it's hard to beat a team over and over again, right now.
The Pac-12 men's and women's tennis tournament started today in Ojai, California. The number 2 seed men's team begins their run to a second straight title tomorrow for 7th-seeded Cal. The women's team enters the tournament as the 4th seed and will play Arizona State, the same team that bounced them from the tournament last year. USC women's water polo begins its postseason this Saturday at the 2022 MPSF Conference Tournament. The 2021 national champs don't have their eyes set on repeating just yet, though. Annenberg reporter LJ Dow sat down this morning with senior utility player Bailey Weber and asked about the team's playoff expectations.
Super stoked. Our coaches are obviously helping us with that, but they're also making sure we're not looking too much ahead of ourselves because we have to make it to the championship game. We have to win conference. We have a lot of things leading up to the national championships.
The Trojans will have a bye as the top seed in the tournament at home. This year's players across the league will not be leaving early to train with their Olympic teams, so expect the competition to be fully loaded. And we're back at the monitor again with more soccer this week. We've got the most exciting end-of-season races in Europe's top leagues. Let's start in England with the title race. Eli, who do you like?
Man City and Liverpool are the 2 teams competing for that top spot. Man City has just been so consistent at the end of seasons over the last couple of years, and they have a harder Champions League matchup, which means they are likely to be bounced and have only the Premier League to focus on. I like Man City.
This Man City team is just so deep. They could probably field 2 11s that can win the Premier League. It's like having a scoop of mint chocolate chip and butter pecan ice cream. Just too much brilliance to handle. We look down at the top 4 race. I like the Spurs team. I like what Conte has done. And you can't really trust Arsenal, and you really can't trust this Manchester United team. Let's move over to Italy.
Let's not compare Man City to second-class ice cream flavors. In Italy, though, let's look at the top. Sam, what do you got at the top of Serie A?
I actually like this Inter Milan team to close the gap. They did the same thing last year after AC Milan got off to a really hot start. It's just 2 points, and they're sort of finding their footing. They sold Hakimi, sold Lukaku over the summer, but Lautaro Martinez is playing really well. This team is really starting to roll now that they have those new signings.
And for the top 4, it's going to be Juventus who's going to hold on to that 4th spot. They just have too much talent. They are one of the most talented teams in the world. They've struggled, but they had this problem last year. They finished strong. They made it to the Champions League. They'll do it again.
We move over to Spain, and not a lot in it here. We got the same 3-4 teams here that are finishing here every year. Real Madrid going to take the title, and honestly, I like these 3 teams to hold the other 3 spots in the top 4. Betis are making a challenge, but I don't think they have enough.
The top 4 are the best 4. They'll hold on. And in the final one, the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich is going to hold on to that top spot. They are the best team. Sam, who's going to get the top 4?
I like Leverkusen and Leipzig. Leverkusen, Patrick Schick, second to only Lewandowski in goals in the Bundesliga. And this Leipzig team, ever since they sacked Marsch and brought in Tedesco, have been playing the football we know of Leipzig the last 3 years.
This is a 1-team league. Bayern Munich at the top, too.
Absolutely. Los Angeles Festival of Books is returning to campus. This week's City Scoop highlights some of the top authors coming up next.
Lávate las manos por 20 segundos como Elmo.
Hay algo especial acerca de este lugar. Se siente como un hogar, una sala debajo del cielo y los árboles. rodeado de aire fresco y la naturaleza. Todo aquí para que lo disfrutemos y para que lo cuidemos. Tenemos la responsabilidad de cuidar de esta tierra que llamamos casa, de preservarla para las generaciones que vienen. Cada acción pequeña contribuye para un cambio mayor y cada uno de nosotros podemos hacer la diferencia. Hay algo especial acerca de este bosque. Es un lugar donde se hacen recuerdos y juntos podemos preservarla y protegerla.
The Los Angeles Times Festival of Books kicks off this weekend right here on campus. As the nation's largest book event, the two-day festival will feature exciting panels, musical performances, and more than 400 authors. So in honor of the Festival of Books, Lupe Llerenas is giving us a special edition of City Scoop. Lupe?
That's right, Cassie. So we're taking our love for books to a new level at the festival. It's a great way for book-loving Angelinos to discover new authors, books, and publishers. So here are 5 authors you should be on the lookout for at this weekend's LA Times Festival of Books. The first author we'd like to highlight is Argelia Atilano, the creator of Grandes Dreamers, a bilingual book that celebrates the life, journey, and groundbreaking milestones of gold-driven Latinas born in the U.S. Up next is Amanda Gorman, who is the youngest inaugural poet in the U.S. The 24-year-old is the author of Call Us What We Carry, which landed on the top spot of New York's bestseller list. Next up is Hall of Fame NFL running back Eric Dickerson, who, with his memoir, Watch My Smoke, a story giving us an inside look at how he became an LA Rams legend. Following by Little Libros, created by Ariana Steen and Patty Rodriguez, Little Libros celebrates the Latin culture of important figures in its history, from Mexican painter Frida Kahlo to Cuban music icon Celia Cruz. And lastly, Jane Wang, author of How to Not Be Afraid of Everything. Now, these are just 5 of the 400 authors you can find at the LA Times Festival of Books this weekend. So you have plenty to pick from. Cassie and Sydney, back to you in the studio.
That sounds amazing. I cannot wait. I'm definitely going to attend. I love books, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to do. The tents are out there. They're set up all over campus. Definitely really exciting time and so many cool authors to check out. Thank you so much for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Cassie Esparza.
And I'm Sydney Charles. For more coverage, watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Annenberg Media. Good night.